Anyway, so if you've got a towel or a blanket, what I was doing with these was um, taking them like, and you can do this with a towel too, is once you've got kind of the foldedness, you start to kind of do this little folding, and then it's, I don't know, like 4 levels or something. This is the way you do pranayama blankets, and this is the bigger blanket, the thicker blanket, and you might have a towel that's even thinner, but if you do this little kind of rolling thing, then you have a really nice support for your spine. So what you do is you take that folded whatever you got, blanket, towel, and you put it at the base of your spine, and then you just try to lay the spine down it. And if you've got extra at the end, you can fold it over to give yourself a little pillow. This one works really well because um, it has a length where if I just roll it like this, it supports my back of my head, which then makes my forehead soften down towards my chest, and then it has a kind of relaxing effect. Um, and if you like this, this can also be a Shavasana pose later if this works for you. But you know, some people get uncomfortable, or if you don't fold the blanket just right, it can dig into your spine. But it gives a little bit of a chest opener, but just a little bit of lift in that front body. So that's what's really nice about this. But as soon as the forehead goes forward, it gives you that front brain, that whole cortex can soften back. And then you can just focus on the breath. And we might as well do a practice today where you take an inhale and an exhale and an inhale, and then count your exhale. And you know, it could be like 4 counts, and you do this long exhale. When you get to the bottom of the breath, you lift the abdominals a little bit just to press out that last little bit of air. Take a pause, and then count the same number for your inhale. When you get to the top of the breath, take a pause. And you could do a few rounds like that, or you could take a few normal breaths in between. Or if you want, you can always practice a lengthening of the exhale. So say you do 4 breaths, or say you do 6 breaths on the exhale. Take that pause, and then just do a 4 breath inhale. Take a pause. So that's where you have the longer exhale. Take a 6. You could take a 6 breath exhale, do the pause, and then a 4 breath inhale. So either keep it even, or you can do that longer exhale, or you could just do one practice and then have a couple of normal breaths in between. So whatever works for you. We're just trying to settle the body and the mind after whatever has happened before you got here today, or maybe it's planning the day ahead. So it's kind of fun to be able to teach for different focuses of the day. So if it's morning, you just might be feeling into just that readiness for that day, just really settling to your body so you can be ready for the day. If it's towards the end of the day, you might be feeling the need to just release what you've been doing, what's been going on, and letting your body find a little bit more relaxation. So now slowly release the breath practice, and then you can bend the knees up and just roll to the side to pull that towel or blanket off to the side, and then come back to line on your spine and just notice for a minute with the knee, if you have the knees bent, just notice what parts of the spine touch the mat and where those natural curves are. We're going to have a little bit of natural curve in the lumbar spine, in the cervical spine. So see if you can feel that. So when we're laying on the floor right now with the knees bent, the sacrum will be on the floor and the thoracic spine will be on the floor. And then either keep your hands low or underneath your head or overhead. We're going to start to inhale, bring the knees to the chest, extend up to the ceiling, exhale, bend the knees, softening the feet on the floor. So you really want control or action or effort through the abdominals here and a little bit in the legs. So here we're opening the backs of the knees. And it's like you're pouring the toes into the floor. So you lift the legs up, and then when you bring them down, it's like the toes come first and then down into the heels. And then if you want to change your arm position and bring in more intensity, you can lift them overhead, or you can hold the elbows to get a stretch through the armpits that might also give you a bit of a shoulder stretch. That's a really nice one to do. But if you choose to do this, you also want to change your grip so you have some evenness. And then do two more like this. And then bring the feet down and the arms down, and just a couple of breaths there. And if you need to release the belly this time, just rock the spine a little bit. Oh, I got a nice click there. So it's like you press the sacrum so the head moves, and then you pull the tailbone down and that stretches behind the neck. So that's a nice way to release the abdominals. But I got a really good click on that one. So now we're going to do the eagle pose as an abdominal pose. So you're going to wrap that right leg around the left. Now what I find is that if I take the left foot down further, it's easier for me to wrap the foot. If you can't wrap the foot, you can just stay where you can still feel that pressure between the legs pressing into each other. And then we're going to take the right elbow under the left. Now you can, if you can't bring the hands together, hold the shoulders and lift the elbows up, or just bring the hands out. So it's really nice to put the hands on the shoulders as well. But if you can hold the hands or press the hands together, do that. So we're gonna really stretch them away from the body. And then inhale, bring the knees and the elbows towards each other. And you can hold for a couple of breaths. And then when you come down, you can stretch the elbows away, the feet away. And then inhale, come up. And then you can stretch them away. This gives me a nice stretch between my shoulder blades when I do this. And then inhale, elbows, knees towards each other. Exhale. And then one more on this side. Inhale and exhale. And then release that side and release that leg. And again, you can just do a little bit of rock with the pelvis through the spine to release anything in the pelvis or up in the head and the neck. And then take the left leg around the right leg. And again, if you slide the foot down, it's easier to find the calf there. And then inhale the left elbow underneath. And again, you can bring the hands to the shoulders or just keep them open like this if you can't place the hands together. And then we're going to inhale, coming up, bringing the knee and the elbows towards each other. Exhale, slide that foot, slide the hands away. And then inhale, knees, elbows together. Exhale. And then I think it was an exhale to bring the knees and the elbows towards each other. And then inhale when you lengthen. I think we have two more. Exhale. Inhale. And then exhale. Inhale. And then again, release the arms and the legs. And again, you can do a little bit of rocking through the spine, just to give yourself a little bit of stretch between that head and the tail. And then you can roll to your side and come up to all fours and just tuck those toes under. Walk the hands forward and then lift the sit bones up and drop the chest towards the floor. Stretching through the armpits. And then walk the hands up. Bring the tops of the feet on the floor. We're just going to do that diagonal stretch. So you're going to take the right hand towards the left shin, bring that head down, and you've got the shoulder on the floor. And then you can actually press through the leg and stretch more into the shoulder and the neck if you'd like. Or you can just stay here with shins on the floor. So you've got a couple of options. And you can actually, if you want a little more movement, you can actually stretch out, then bring down, and you can stretch out and bend the knee down, because maybe what that does, it gives you, helps you go deeper into the stretch. And then inhale, slowly come up. I'll turn around so I'm not facing away from the camera. And then take the left hand through to the right shin. And then you can press through that leg and roll more into that shoulder. Or you can keep it down, or you can do a few stretches through the leg and then bend it down. See if that gives you a little bit more stretch through the shoulder blade. And then inhale, slowly coming up. And then we will come into a downward dog. So make sure that your hands, your inner elbows face each other, your fingers are spread out. Most of the time, I think our middle finger is forward. Sometimes it's the first finger that's forward. But whatever helps you really press into that first finger knuckle, because that helps engage the inner line of the arm. So if you tuck the toes under And then come into downward facing. And since it's the first downward facing, you can walk a bit through the legs, bending the knees, stretching through the feet. Making sure that you're breathing. And then if you want a little more stretch, you can bend the knees a little bit and press those armpits towards the thighs and the floor. And then slowly straighten the legs. A couple of breaths there. And then bend the knees down into big toes together, knees wide. Feeling that length between the sit bones. And then again, inhale, coming back up. Tuck the toes under. Come into a downward facing dog. And if you can start to walk your hands towards your feet, and if you're okay in the hamstrings, you can put the fingertips on the floor and just shake out your head. If you need to keep the knees bent, that's okay too. Just see if you can find that length in the head, as if somebody's pulling that string down. Well, it's really length through the neck. And then whatever way you want to come up, either with bent knees, rolling up the spine, or straight legs with the elbows, you can come up to standing. And we'll come into the center of the mat. And if you have a block at home, and again, you don't need a block, but if you have one, you can have them nearby. And actually, I'll demonstrate one thing you can do if you feel like it, because we're going to do a little bit of Ustrasana here. But it's really nice to do this with 2 blocks. But you can do it with 1 block between the knees and 1 between the heels, or you can even take a book there. Blocks are just more comfortable. So I'm going to do it this way, but you don't have to worry about it if you don't have the props. It just helps remind my inner thighs to work. It helps to remind my inner heels where they're located, maybe which one is pressing in more. Just gives me some feedback into the body. So inhale the arms overhead, feel that length in Ustrasana, or what is it, arms overhead pose, Ustrasana. And then you can exhale into Ustrasana, powerful pose. Really lifting those abdominals up. Then inhale, come up. Exhale down. This is very much heating work in the body. Inhale the arms up, Ustrasana. Exhale, Ustrasana. And I just realized we haven't done this little sequence in a long time, so we'll add Uttanasana in this sequence and we'll come back through Ustrasana. So how it goes is inhale, Ustrasana, exhale, Ustrasana. And then on your next exhale, you come into forward facing, you come into Uttanasana. Now, if you can't reach the hands, you can always put them on the shins, or you can always leave the back flat out if it's difficult to come down. And then on your next inhale, you come back to Uttanasana, exhale there, then inhale up, exhale down. So we'll do a few rounds of these just to get the body used to this and warmed up. Inhale, Uttanasana, or arms overhead pose, sorry. Ustrasana. Exhale, Utkatasana. Inhale there. Exhale into Uttanasana, standing forward bend. Then inhale, coming back through Utkatasana. Inhale, coming up. Exhale, down. Inhale the arms up. Exhale, Utkatasana. Inhale, exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, coming back up to Utkatasana. Inhale, coming up, Urdhva Hastasana. Now we're going to hold each of those poses with a couple of breaths. So we're going to inhale the arms up, hold a few breaths here. And I mean, you could just do this sequence in the morning and be sort of warmed up for the day. And then exhale into Utkatasana. Couple of breaths here, because it has this, you know, I guess it would be like a lunge because you're working the thighs. And then go into Uttanasana, a couple of breaths here. You got a forward bend here. And then again, inhale, coming up through Utkatasana, powerful pose. Couple of breaths here. Then arms overhead pose. Couple of breaths here. And then bring the arms down. Now, if you happen to have a block, it can come in handy on either side of the foot. But again, it doesn't need to be there, but I'll show you different ways to do this next pose. We are going to actually do eagle pose. So there's many ways to go into it, but what we'll do is we'll go into Utkatasana first, and then wrap the right foot around. If you can't bring the foot behind, this is where you can use the block to put the foot on top. So, you know, you can bring it like that. Otherwise, you really squeeze those legs together, and then the right elbow comes under the left. Now you can keep the arms here if that works, and you can't hold the elbows down. And then inhale, coming up, release that side. So I know this is kind of an intense pose, but man, does it work the legs. It also works the balance too. So again, come into Utkatasana, and then again, as you wrap the leg, it can either go on the block, or even if you had a pillow next to it and you wanted some, that just helps with your stability. And then if you can wrap the foot, bring the left elbow underneath. Couple of breaths here. And then slowly release the side. So now we'll do tree pose, and tree pose should feel hopefully really light at this point. So I'm going to stand on my left foot. You can stand on your right foot if you want to be mirror image. And you're just going to slowly lift the foot up to where it goes naturally without using your hands. And then bring the hands into prayer position. And then you can bring them overhead. And see if there's a little bit more stability or calmness in this pose after we've done those last two poses. And then exhale the arms down and the foot down. I mean, I don't know, it's really, you know, the feedback is for you. Like, what do you experience? It's not about at all about what I experience. I can make suggestions on my experience, but doesn't mean that's what you experience. So I'm standing on my right foot. You could be on your left foot, bringing the other foot up. And when we do tree this way, our hips are apt to stay more level. Hands can come into prayer position. And then arms can come overhead. And then arms down, foot down. Just a couple of breaths in Tadasana, just feeling the stability in our feet here. And then we'll do a few more standing poses. So we'll take the hands in front of the chest and we'll bend into Ustrasana a bit. And you can either step or jump wide. And then here I'll definitely do mirror image for you. So take the left foot toe to heel, right foot heel to toe, and then really reach through that arm to come into Yatita Trikonasana, extended triangle pose. So really press into those feet, feel that stability in the feet. And then if you're okay in the head and the neck, you really begin this in the abdominals. It's like you're twisting from the base of the spine all the way up through the head and the neck to look up at the top hand. And then inhale, slowly come up, bring the feet parallel, and then taking the right foot toe to heel, left foot heel to toe, reaching that arm out, finding the thigh or the shin, top arm comes up. And if you're okay in the head and the neck, really engage the abdominals as you turn the whole spine to look up into the upper hand. And then inhale, slowly come up, arms wide, feet parallel, and then you can step them in a little bit, or you can just jump or step back into Tadasana. Couple of breaths here. And then bring the hands in front, and you can, bend into that Utkatasana place, and then jump wide. And this time we're going to pivot all the way around so we can go into lunge warrior or warrior one pose. So really bend through that front leg as the arms are wide. And then if you're feeling stable, you can bring the arms up. And then bring the arms down so that you can pivot back to the front. And then pivot all the way to the other side. And bend through that front leg. And then if you're okay, you can bring the arms up. And then inhale, coming up. Whoops, I did it wrong. Arms out first, then coming around. Oh boy. And then you can bring the feet a little closer. I have to remember, my body has to remember how I went into things. And then jumping back into Tadasana with a couple of breaths there. Now, for the next pose, we're going to come down. We're going to play a little bit with, I guess we'll go into the blah, 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 gate pose, Parigasana first, and then we'll do a little bit of play with camel pose. So we'll just get used to that being on the knees. And if you need something under your knees, I have these cool little gel pads, but you can take your towel or your blanket and you can have it under your knees if you need that. So we often have bony knees, so we need to put something there. So I will do mirror image. So take your left your right foot out and make sure that the hips stay even. So most of us don't have 90-degree turnout like ballerinas, so we probably need to bring that foot a little bit into the diagonal, a little bit in front of our hips. And then we can inhale those arms up, exhale there, then inhale the palms up, and then drop the palm to the thigh or the shin, and the top arm comes over. So doing this pose, we're trying to give more space to that whole side body, really engaging the abdominals. And again, you can turn like triangle pose and look under the armpit, or Parsvakonasana. And then inhale, slowly come up, bring the arms down, bring the right knee back, and then take the left leg out. And if you can always, flex the foot if you need to. You may not have that stretch in the top of the foot, so you may need to have that flexion in the ankle. But as you work towards this, you can work slowly. You can put something under your foot to slowly stretch out the top of the foot. And then inhale those arms up. Exhale there. Inhale the palms up. Drop the right hand down, or left hand down to the shin or the thigh. And then the top arm comes over. And then if you feel like looking under the armpit, you engage those abdominals. So you do a little twist here to look under that armpit. And then you inhale, come up, bring that leg in. And for camel, you might want to have this softness under the knee. I'm going to show a few options as I do. So you can have one under your knee. You can take cushions or a blanket across your legs to make that easier. And you can also use blocks. And I'm going to show you an option with the chair as well. So a couple of things we can do. So the first one we'll just make it easy and just do the first one where you don't need any props. And you just want to take the hands in prayer position in front of you. And it's like you're pushing the chest to the hands so you can slowly bring the head back. You don't have to drop the head. You can just keep looking up or even looking forward. But you're really pressing from the hips here. You're trying to press from the hips and feel the lower body really support you. And then inhale, you bring the chin to the chest. And this is where it's nice when you have a bolster or a blanket that you can put to sit on during the rest part. So it's also like I have these little cushions. These make for a nice little perch to sit on. The other nice thing about this softness is when I sit on this with this layer, I can really press my tops of my feet and ankles into the floor. So the next variation I'll show you will be something with the feet. So come on up onto your knees and tuck the toes under, because this might be an easier place to go. And if it's hard for you to put the hands on the heels, you can go back to that first one, but also the nice thing to do is you'll get that stretch in the feet here. So if you start by lifting the hands in prayer, lifting the chest, dropping a hand back and the other hand to those heels, then you really can use that leverage to push the hips forward. And then lift the chin to the chest and come back down to whatever you had for your sitting back on your feet. And while you're sitting there, I'll just show you that with the chair, you can, put the hands back and really press forward if you've got a chair like this. And that's going to help. So, if you have something like that, you can try that. So, but for the last one, we'll keep the feet on the floor. This is where the blocks behind you can come in handy if you can't get those feet going. So I'll show you both variations. But anyway, you can join me now, and hands to the chest. Lift the chest into the hands. Then if you can find the blocks, fingers, let's see, I'm trying to remember. Fingers forward. You can go there, or maybe it's actually bring the hands, fingertips backwards. And then if you can bring the hands to the feet, then you can press forward. And then inhale, slowly come up. Come on down and give yourself a little rest in child's pose. So you want to put the head down, or you can put the hands under the head. Or you can just put the arms next to you and just go into that nice rounded spine. And breathe. As you breathe into the belly, it's going to breathe into the lower back. And really stretch through those sit bones and that whole sacrum area. Try to soften your forehead here. And then inhale, slowly come up. And whatever you want to do for Shavasana, you can, if you happen to have the chair, you can do the feet on the chair and the pillow under. You can do feet up the wall. You can do regular Shavasana. So whatever suits you today. So every day is different in your practice. So you always need to learn to listen to what you need. And even for Shavasana, there's so many ways to do Shavasana that sometimes you really do need the feet up the wall. Sometimes you really need the support of a chair. Sometimes you need to do regular Shavasana. Sometimes you need to do Shavasana on your belly. So every day is different. So whichever pose you've chosen, allow yourself to begin to settle into that pose. Letting the breath on the exhale just soften the back side of your body that's in touch with the floor. Letting more of the back side of your body be in contact with the floor. And starting with your toes, you can soften all 10 toes.
Softening the tops of the feet and the insteps. Softening the heels and the ankles. The shins, the calf muscles are softening. Top of the knee, sides of the knee, back of the knee soften. Upper thigh, hamstrings, quadriceps are softening. And the thigh socket, where your thighs meet your pelvis, that crease is softening. The front of the pelvis, the sides of the pelvis, the back of the pelvis softens. The belly softens back to the sacrum so the sacrum can widen and soften. Front of the chest, rib cage, front of the rib cage, sides of the rib cage, back of the rib cage is softening. Upper chest, sternum area softens, collarbone softens, and the space between the collarbones softens. Shoulder blades are softening, and the space between the shoulder blades softened. All 10 fingers are softening and in their natural curl. Your palm, back of the hand softened. Your wrist is softening. Your forearm softens. Inner elbow point to the elbow softens. Upper arm, biceps, triceps, deltoids are softening so that your arms are softening into that shoulder girdle, into the armpits. The throat softens, back of the neck softens and lengthens. Base of the head softens. Your scalp softens. Your forehead widens and softens. Your temples are softening. Space between the eyebrows widens and softens. Your eyeballs rest into the eye socket. Your cheeks are softening. Your jaw softens. Your chin is softening and your tongue rests in the lower palate. Slowly begin to deepen your breath finding a little bit of movement in your fingers, toes, hands, feet. And whatever pose you've been in, you can find whatever stretch it is that you need to roll to your right side. And coming into a seated position, making sure that your head is the last thing to roll up. You don't want to jerk your head and your neck up after that nice Shavasana. And thank you for being here. And namaste. Have a beautiful evening or day.